So I've got a lukewarm take about video games and specifically about easy modes. And it's a take that's slightly different from what you normally get, which is around people wanting different experiences of the same game. Because the response to that is often, what if the game creator had a very specific vision of how people should experience their game? And so they set one difficulty level and everyone experiences the game the same way. And that is the way the creator imagined it. And I'd say that's an extremely good argument for respecting the creator's vision, but that it isn't a defense to having one set difficulty level. In fact, it's an argument for having various different difficulty levels built into the game. And the reason for that is that you can have the same settings that everyone experiences, but none of those people are going to experience those settings the same way, because everyone's coming into that game with a completely different skill set and experience level with games like that. Take the Souls games, for example. The Souls-like games are famous for their difficulty, and that is part of the vision for the games that FromSoft built in. That's the way they have built the game, is to have a level of difficulty that's quite high and forces you to fail forwards and learn as you go through some pretty tough challenges. And the idea behind that is clearly that everyone should experience that difficulty. The problem is that it doesn't stand up to having an experienced player base. What ends up happening is that you have a group of players who are coming to games, say Elden Ring, and it's their first ever Souls game, first ever Souls experience. They come to the game, they immediately get crushed, and it takes them hours to get anywhere. And then you have people who've completed every single FromSoft game over and over and over and over before they even come to Elden Ring. They start playing the game and they breeze through it. However much FromSoft has designed the game so that everyone is experiencing the same experience, have the same difficulty, the same settings, what they've actually resulted in by having only one difficulty setting is radically different experiences of the game, depending if you're new to the franchise or you're an experienced veteran. The Souls veteran is not experiencing Elden Ring the way that the creators designed it, as a difficult experience where you have to have resilience and fight your way through failing forwards. Some of the people who have played every single Souls game back to back will play Elden Ring and literally never die. Just start to finish, one sitting. They are obviously not experiencing the game the way the creators designed it. And on the flip side, although you'll have people who are new to Souls games who are experiencing it exactly the way that it was designed to be experienced, you'll also have people who are entirely new to gaming full stop, who might pick up Elden Ring because they've heard the hype, or they've loved the idea behind it, or they've been watching VaatiVidya videos and just love the lore, who are picking up a video game for the first time with Elden Ring and literally cannot work out how to move forwards and change direction at the same time. They may well come across the first enemy in the game, die instantly, die again, and continue on that loop against this one enemy 100 times before giving up and experiencing none of the game whatsoever. They are also not experiencing the game the way the creators designed it, because they will never be able to experience it at all. See also people with disabilities, or hell, just people who are really bad at video games. Get good isn't a good enough reason to give people to get to the point where they're just experiencing the game the way it was meant to be experienced. And on the flip side, isn't it a shame that veterans of the franchise who've become incredibly good at Souls games in general are coming into this game, and unless they deliberately hamstring themselves with various new things they decide to do, like playing the entire game without picking up a single weapon, unless they put themselves through these artificial constraints, they will also never experience that difficulty level the way it was designed. They will never experience the way the game was designed at all, because by not picking up a single weapon, they'll also miss out on all the various pieces of lore that are built into those weapons. And this isn't just a Souls-specific thing, but it's where I see the argument used most often. This applies across all games which have one set fixed difficulty setting, out of a misjudged expectation that having that one setting means that everyone gets to have the same experience. The opposite is true. By having one fixed setting, it means that literally no one has the same experience. And the experiences that people are likely to have will vary dramatically depending on their experience and skill levels that some people will never be able to even up. So what is the solution to this? Well, the standard solution that most video games have is that they have a standard difficulty level, which they market as the way the game is meant to be experienced, which is intended for the middle of the road, has some experience, isn't a veteran type of gamer. And then they have different difficulty levels depending on what person's skill level are. This generally allows people to have the same experience depending on their skill level. Then you have other games that explicitly market their difficulty levels as a difference in experience. For example, Horizon Zero Dawn with story mode, which is designed for people who don't want to get bogged down in difficulty and challenging encounters, they just want to experience the story. This isn't what I'm talking about. However much some of those story modes are frequently used by people who are brand new to gaming, who still find the encounters difficult whilst in those modes, and are therefore actually experiencing the game at the difficulty level that it was originally intended. One example I've seen brought up as a solution to this is if a game has a very brief early section which trials a player's basic skills in the game and understanding of the game world, and then sets a recommended difficulty level based on that experience. Where I've seen the opposite happen is Hollow Knight's Silksong, where the game is very obviously designed for people who played Hollow Knight, and yet it was marketed to a general audience as something that you can't come into without having experienced Hollow Knight at all. The problem with that is you often get people who not only didn't play Hollow Knight, but also haven't played 2D platformers or Metroidvanias, and come into your Hollow Knight Silksong, bounce straight off it because they can't get anywhere, don't experience the game at all. And that's a shame. Because they're not getting the experience as intended. The experience as intended is intended for the player who has played Hollow Knight and completed Hollow Knight and therefore has that fundamental skill level. And here, having two difficulty levels, one for people new to the franchise, new to this style of game, and one for people who'd completed Hollow Knight, would actually have resulted in more players getting to experience the game as intended. Having different difficulty levels is good. It's good for accessibility, it's good for ensuring that more players get to experience the game as intended, and if it results in some players setting it to ludicrous difficulties just to give themselves a challenge beyond what the creators expected, or setting it really easy just so they can breeze through, which the creators didn't intend, so be it. They have chosen to miss out on the intended experience, but at least they got to play the game. They had fun. Where's the harm in that? But more importantly, more people have the chance to experience the game creator's vision as they intended it. Because a single set difficulty is not the same difficulty for everyone. And honestly, having seen so often that it's the veterans who defend the single set difficulty, I feel worst for them defending an approach to video games that actually makes them the least likely people to experience the games as they're intended.